The NFL draft is just a few weeks away, and I'm going through a series where I'm ranking my top players in this upcoming draft class. Now, I've already done 2 videos on this topic, both about DBs. Now we'll be changing up the formula a little bit and just go over my top 10 rather than just my top 5 favorites. And in today's video, I am going to be going over the edge rushers. This is a very contentious position in this draft. In my opinion, there is a lot of good, not a lot of great. Each edge rusher has their own problems, but each edge rusher has something you can rave about, in most cases. Now, everybody's top 10 is going to be very different, and I'm sure a lot of people would be mad about my own top 10, but gotta put it out there, and we'll see who's right. Everybody's probably going to be wrong in some way, except maybe that one guy that got lucky. Or maybe he's good. I'm not sure. But before we get into my rankings, this is how I've rated all my players. This is my grading scale. So, my number 1 edge in this class is David Bailey from Texas Tech. Now, I do see some sites listing him as a linebacker, but to me, he's an edge rusher. When I watched his film, he did a lot more rushing the passer on the line rather than being off coverage. Though, it's not that he can't play off coverage. He was actually fairly decent in zone coverage. I was actually kind of surprised by that. But that's not where you should really put him, because his talents lie on the defensive line, and he is an excellent pass rusher. He's one of the best pass rushers in this class. And while a lot of people do say his run defense could be a question, I don't really think it is, because he gets off blocks so incredibly well that he's able to affect the run game very well, and especially the quarterback. I mean, his production was insane last year. 14.5 sacks and a ton of pressures to go along with it. I mean, his first step, one of the best in the class, and he's a freakish athlete, one of the best athletes in this class. And this class has a lot of great athletes in it. And he does pretty much anything you could really want from him as a pass rusher. He has plenty of moves. He's got great bend, great flexibility, so he can move his body basically any way he wants. And his motor is also very good. That should be also noted. He will chase down runners from across the field. But, of course, there are some concerns with him, as with any edge prospect. But I do think they're a bit lessened, hence why such the high grade. His frame is very light, and that does cause some problems. I mean, he's 6'4", so height isn't a problem, neither is length. He's got good length arms. They're not freakish length, but they're plenty good enough. 33-inch arms at edge is plenty playable and will win you a lot of situations. His weight, though, is a concern, and it does affect how he's able to anchor. Hence why some people have concerns about his run defense. He does not anchor all that great. If he gets caught in a block, good chance he's getting shoved back. But I do think he does such a good job of generally avoiding blocks, and even his power is extremely impressive, where I believe this is less of a factor compared to other prospects in this class with a similar issue. So he's my number 1 edge, and it's not really close, to be honest. And my number 2 edge rusher in this class is Ruben Bain. If you're wondering where Arvell Reese is, he's not on this list. To me, he's a linebacker. This is strictly edges or players who primarily rush the passer, like David Bailey. Ruben Bain primarily rushes the passer, and he is excellent at it. His speed to power is among the best in this class. His first step quickness, excellent. And that is his main draw. I mean, he shoves tackles back. Arm length aside, he shoves tackles back, and you see that regularly on film, even against tackles with much longer arms than him. If he can get his hands on your chest, he is shoving you back like 5 yards. And his bend is excellent. If you've seen his pro day photos, you can see how low he can get. I mean, he is a freakish athlete. Let's be real. His concerns, though, are very real, and it's why I did not rate him plus starter. For one, he's an undersized edge, and, well, this class has a lot of those, and that does affect my grades, but in this case, his arm length is extremely low. That it is bottom single percent arm length. It is one of the lowest in pretty much combine history for an edge. And it's a problem because against larger offensive linemen who are actually good and can get their hands on him, you can neutralize him pretty quickly because that reach advantage is significant. Also, his run defense, while if he can get around blocks, is good. He can get to running backs quite well. My main issue with him is that he overgambles a lot, and his gap discipline was a significant problem. Multiple times on film, I saw him give up big runs because he guessed wrong and overcommitted to a spot. And it was a reoccurring problem where I worry about his run defense a little bit. Now, it's not something that can't be corrected, but with his size, it could also be just an overall problem for him as well. And his tackling is not also all that great. He has a 20% missed tackle rate throughout his career, and it hasn't really gotten much better. And that can partially be explained by his arm length, because players with shorter arms typically have a harder time wrapping up. So I don't really think that missed tackle rate is really going to go down, and that can prove frustrating for some teams. And I don't believe he should really fall that far, but to me, I would be more comfortable picking him in like the early to mid-teens rather than top 10. Now, from this point on, you can basically argue the list any way you like, because you can put these edges in a lot of different spots, really depending on what you prefer at edge. For me, my number 3 edge is Derek Moore from Michigan. Why? His bull rush is among the best in the class, and the top edge rushers in the league all have great speed to power conversion, because it is one of the most reliable ways to generate consistent pressure. And consistent pressure is more important than getting 10 plus sacks and maybe half the pressure, because pressure can lead to turnovers, and those are much better than just sacks. And Derek Moore, his bull rush is elite. It is one of his best tools in his arsenal. Now, the problem with Derek Moore is he is pretty raw, to be honest. I have a pretty high grade on him because he's a pretty good athlete. I like his length. He is a little bit light, honestly, pretty much like every edge in this class, but his movement skills are really good. Now, his first step isn't as good as some others in this class, but it's definitely adequate enough where you can play as a starter. And his run defense is iffy, to be honest. Like I said, he's raw. He doesn't have a lot of pass rush moves outside of his bull rush. You see a few every now and then, but it's nowhere near consistent enough. I think if he lands with the right defensive coordinator, he could be a monster. If he lands with the wrong defensive coordinator, he could remain underdeveloped for a few years before maybe finally finding his footing. I think this is a player that will take some time to develop, but I love his potential. My edge 4 in this class? Akeem Mesidor. In my opinion, he has one of the highest floors out of any edge rusher, and that's why I rate him so high. I mean, as a pass rusher, he's got great speed to power, he's got a ton of moves, he's reliable against the run, and overall, he's pretty polished. While I was watching Ruben Maine, I noticed Akeem Mesidor making a ton of plays himself, so that made me super interested to watch him, and watching him was also a great treat. Now, there are also some serious concerns with him. His arm length, like his teammate, is not ideal. No, it's not nearly as bad as his teammate with 32-inch arms, but that's still far from ideal. You usually want at least 33-inch arms, and that occasionally shows, but not too often where I'm super worried about it. Arm length matters to a point. I think it has a minimal impact in most cases, but the extremes is typically where it matters. The extremely long arms and the extremely short arms. That's where it matters more. In the middle, it's a whatever factor, in my opinion. And that kind of applies to Akeem Mesidor. And Mesidor has a few issues, like I mentioned. Arm length is one. His age is one major issue. I mean, he's 26 coming out of college, so very limited time for him to really develop, and to be honest, I think he's close to his ceiling, but I do think his floor is rather high, so I think he's a very good prospect to bet on, especially in the first round where there's not a whole lot of great options in my opinion. His anchor, like his teammate, is also a problem. He's pretty light himself, so he doesn't reliably anchor, so stronger offensive linemen can shove him away. And he does have an injury history, which is a concern, especially on his foot, so that does limit his explosiveness a little bit. But overall, I do think you're getting a very good edge rusher here, and he should be able to produce for you for at least 5 years. And to be honest, you'll take that. My next edge is Malachi Lawrence from UCF. The reason I have him this high and why he's rising on a lot of draft boards right now is he's a freak athlete. I mean, his testing numbers are insane. Let me read them out to you. He ran a 4.52 at the combine. His vert is 40 inches. His 10-yard split is 159. And his broad jump is 130 inches. His 40, 98th percentile. His vert, 98th percentile. His broad jump, 99th percentile. And his 10-yard split, 85th percentile. He's an extremely good athlete, and you can see it on his tape. And he isn't just athlete either. He has some very good pass rush moves, and they show up regularly. Now, his production isn't as high as some others in this class, but it ain't that far behind. He's got pretty good production on UCF, which I wouldn't say is a defensive juggernaut. And he's got an explosive first step, which if you want an elite edge rusher, they need to have an explosive first step and good speed to power at least. And he has those. And he also has some good length, so that's not an issue either. Now, to the issues, he's light. Again, like a bunch of these edges are just super light, that you're just going to have to live with it, to be honest. And it does cause problems in the run game. His anchor, not very good. And it does affect him in run defense, as he can get washed out against run blocking offensive linemen. And his missed tackle rate is pretty high, so that is also something to clean up, but that really doesn't change all that often from college to pros, so also something you're going to have to live with. And he can get affected by misdirection, so that is coachable, but that's something to be aware about. But I want to bet on the upside, and Malachi Lawrence has one of the highest upsides in this class. Now I'm going to start running through the last part of my list a little bit quicker now, but my number 6 edge is Danny Dennis Sutton from Penn State. He had one of the best combines for defensive ends of his size. I mean, freakish athlete when it comes to his speed and explosiveness. And you can see it in his game as well. He's got strong power, he shoves offensive linemen back, he's got great length, and he's able to defend against the run because he can set a very good edge. His anchor is very solid. Now, of course, there are a lot of problems, like pretty much with every edge in this class. He hasn't consistently produced in college, and that is somewhat of a concern when he's had so much time to do so, and he still has room to develop, but you do question how much he can really develop because there's 2 key areas. His first step is not amazing, and his bend is quite poor. His hips are rather tight, so that prevents him from really doing much bend, and that does affect how quickly he can get around the edge and get behind the quarterback. So that does limit his pass rush potential a little bit, but I do think he can be a very reliable edge rusher. I don't ever think he will be quite elite, like some of his testing numbers may suggest, but I do think he can be a very good edge rusher. My edge 7 in this class is Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. And while I do like him, I do feel like I am a little bit lower than a lot of people, and for very good reason. His arm length is extremely short. And when I say the arm length matters at the extremes, this is one of the extremes. They are historically short, and that does really limit his true potential. However, as just a pure pass rusher, he is among the best in this class. He's got an extremely explosive first step. He's got a massive arsenal of pass rush moves, and he uses them to great effect. And he had excellent production at Texas A&M, 11.5 sacks. And despite his short arms, he's able to get up and bat the ball at the line of scrimmage, showing how intelligent he is at the line of scrimmage. But his run defense does suffer from his arm length and his size. He has a very light frame. He gets pushed around a lot. And if a guard or tackle comes in with violent intentions, he's getting shoved out the play. It is what it is. As a designated pass rusher, he's elite. But I do feel like his frame and arm length do limit how long he can really be on the field. But I just think his pass rush ability is so good, he's going to find ways to stay on the field anyway. And my edge 8 from this class is Romello Height from Texas Tech. Another guy like Cassius Howell, elite pass rusher, but undersized and gets washed out when it comes to run defense. Yeah, he has a different problem from Cassius Howell though. While Cassius Howell is somewhat light, he's a little bit shorter and has uber short arms. Romello Height's arms are not long, but they aren't extremely short. However, he is extremely light. He is honestly linebacker weight. He is 234 despite being 6'3", and it affects him because his anchor is basically non-existent. But he has so many pass rush moves. His first step is explosive, and he gets around blocks so easily that he's going to find ways to get on the field and affect the pass game. Run defense, I wouldn't put too much hope into that though. And my number 9 edge rusher in this class is Zion Young from Missouri. This is a very interesting prospect. He's got great height, good arm length, and he's actually very effective against the run and is very effective against the pass. Sounds great, right? There are a few problems that should be addressed here. Number 1, his first step is not that great, and that really does affect his pass rush upside. Like I said, a lot of the top edge rushers in the league, they have both explosive first steps and great speed to power. Zion Young has one of those. Good speed to power. Not great explosiveness, so that does limit his upside there. But there is still plenty to like about him. Like I said, he's great against the run. And he's got plenty of pass rush moves. You can clearly see that on tape. And he uses them to very good effect. And that allows him to be still effective against the pass despite being primarily, I'd say, a run-stopping edge rusher. That's where he's best at. But there are some other actually pretty serious concerns. Number 1, he does have an assault charge from when he was a freshman for fighting in a tunnel. And number 2, he has a DWI that's still pending a court hearing. And those two situations, those get the attention of NFL teams, and I would not be surprised to hear if certain teams have completely taken him off their boards. But I do think Zion Young is still a very good player and is effective in both phases of the game, which should get him plenty of playing time. And I think he can be a very solid edge rusher in the league if he can keep the off-the-field incidents to a minimum. And the last edge I'm going to talk about in this video is my number 10 edge, TJ Parker from Clemson. Honestly, you can put a lot of different edge rushers here, and I wouldn't be mad at it. But TJ Parker, I do think, has a solid floor. He's got great height and weight. He's got great arm length. And he's extremely effective against the run and is solid against the pass. Now, he did have a better 2024 than 2025, and you could blame that on Clemson's scheme, but my opinion is if you're an actually good edge rusher, scheme won't matter. It'll just show up, and to be honest, I was not super impressed with his pass rush ability, but I do see potential there. Maybe you can develop him further, but against the run, he was very solid. Now, there are some other issues, like his anchor is not that great and he can get washed out of plays. Plus, his range is pretty limited. His speed is not that great, and his get off is also not ideal either. So that also limits his upside as a pass rusher. But I do think he can be a solid role player for a team. I don't think he will ever be an edge 1 for a team, but I think he could be a solid edge 2 and a very good edge 3. But What do you guys think of my list? Do you have any other edge rushers you think should have been on this list? Let me know in the comment section below. But if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and sub. It's greatly appreciated and lets me know you guys enjoy these videos. Anyways, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!